Okay, so welcome to episode number 1 of Story Song Time with Dan. Episode number 1 is called I Thought You Was Dead. You're probably wondering what this is. It's a microphone. I had nowhere else to put it. I've got a small room for doing this. I call it the dog box. But before we get going with our story and our song today, I'm going to play you my snazzy trailer because I like it. Right, Jesus, that was I can't believe I'm here. Now I've lost my mojo now because I had some technical problems. I don't want to bore you with them. I think I need to just get in the mood by starting with the song. This is a series. I'm going to be doing 10 or 12 of them. I'm not sure yet. The first one's called I Thought You Was Dead. They're going to be stories and songs. Sometimes the story and the song, like this one, are really closely tied together, and sometimes the story and the song will be only loosely tied together and hanging together by the thinnest thread of your imagination or mine. This one's called I Thought You Was Dead. I'll just sing you the first verse or two and then I'll get into the story. It goes like this. Gordon, Dan and Will on the river track. Gordon had a rifle from his father Frank. Frank had said, be careful, don't let them boys near that. But Gordon came and got us and we went shooting down on the river track. Ooh. Gordon had a mangy mongrel dog called Pal. He was bad-natured and ill-tempered. He used to really piss us off. The three of us were sitting in a row on the riverbank, taking turns at shooting leaves, tin cans and things like that. Well, the dog was sitting between us. Gordon lit a cigarette. I lined up a spider in the middle of a web. Dog turns around and snaps the wheel, bites him on the side of the head. Gordon gets up to kick the dog. I pull the trigger then. Ooh, Alright, I'm gonna just pause the song there and just tell you the story. I know it's kind of weird to break a song off halfway through, but like I said, this story song is really a story song, and the story and the song are the same thing except for the music, almost. So to tell you this story, I have to take you back to about 1971, 1972. It's a long time ago. I was a little tacker. I was like barely 10 years old, I think, and I lived in this little town called Kempsey on the mid-north coast in New South Wales. It was a river town. And if you drive into Kempsey and you follow the river upstream, that's the Macleay River there. And this story takes place about probably 30 kilometres upstream from here, behind that mountain. Yeah, puts me in the mood. Anyway, yeah, we lived on that river, and across the road from our place we had bush going down the hill to the riverbank, and we had all of these tracks going down to the riverbank. We spent a great deal of our childhood down there on the riverbank. Mudslides, mud fights, jumping out of trees, river swings, like splashing into the river. What else? Campfires, fishing for perch, going across the river to steal corn from the farmer. It was a pretty cool place to grow up. I'm pretty lucky that I grew up there. We got up to all sorts of no good down there. And this story takes place down there on the riverbank. Now, I lived at 39 Harold Keepin Street, and up the road from me there was a fella called Gordon. And Gordon was a few years older than us younger kids. Gordon was 14 or 15. And, Gordon's dad had bought him a rifle for his birthday. In Australia we call that a slug gun. Here in Europe you call it a bux. It wasn't a rifle with 22-inch bullets or whatever, but it was a powerful weapon. I mean, you could kill a dog with it or a rabbit. It was dangerous. Anyway, Gordon's dad had said to Gordon, don't you dare take that gun down the road to those boys. Don't let them near it. Of course, I hear tap, tap, tap on my bedroom window one Sunday afternoon, and there's Gordon standing in the backyard, my backyard, with his rifle, and he's got his rifle in one hand and he's smoking a cigarette, and he's like, Dan, you want to come down the river and have a go on my gun? And I'm like, is that a real gun? He's like, well, yeah, what do you reckon? I'm like, is it really real? It's a real gun, Dan. Come and have a go on it. I mean, of course I want to go down and have a go on a real gun. We've been playing Cowboys and Indians. Oh, that's Will. That's my mate Willie. He features in this story. That's in the backyard at Keepin Street. He's one of the stars in this story. I'll get onto that in a second. Anyway, me and Will and Gordon and Kevin go down to the river to muck around with his gun. Now, Gordon had this dog, and his dog was called Pal, and we hated that dog. Gordon, if you ever get to watch this, I don't know why I put this in here. That's further downstream, and that's a fishing boat going out to sea. I've got no idea what. Oh, and that is the shack at the Gap, another place we used to hang around as kids. Go away, go away, go away. Back to the story. So, Gordon had this dog called Pal, and he was a mongrel. We hated him. I said to Gordon, don't bring that dog. And Gordon's like, nah, he's going to be right, Dan. He'll be right. I'll look after him. He's all right. He's a good boy. And we hated him, Gordon. We hated your dog, mate. Anyway, so we're all down there on the river, and we're taking turns at shooting stuff in the river. Like anything, really, like a leaf floating past. Like, blow that leaf to smithereens. And a bit of duck fluff. There goes the duck fluff. And it was so exciting watching those slugs, those bullets just sort of disappear into the water in a trail of bubbles. Like, just so exciting as a kid to watch that. And it was my turn on the gun. We were taking turns. And honestly, it can't have been that much more than that far away from the barrel of my gun. There was this beautiful big orb spider. A giant spider web with this great big fat orb spider right in the middle, and he had silvery, sort of goldy, greeny, surreal coloured speckles on his back, and the sun was glinting off his back. And I lined up that spider right in the middle of her target, and I was about to blow that spider to kingdom come. And even as an 8 or 9 year old boy, I felt a twinge of guilt run through me about blowing this beautiful creature to smithereens. But you don't have to worry about that because I never got to pull the trigger on that spider, and here's why. Here's what happened. So I've got the spider. I've got the spider lined up, right? And the next thing you know, I hear the dog snap, and I hear someone scream next to me, and Gordon gets up to kick the dog, and all hell breaks loose. And in the kind of panic of the moment, I do the most stupid thing you could think of in the panic of a moment. Without thinking, I pull the trigger like this. And I hear a yell and a scream, and Kevin takes off that way. Gordon takes off that way. The dog goes squealing into the bushes behind me, and it all, everything's a bit of a blur. I've got no idea what's happened. I turn around. Next to me is my best friend Will, who was in that picture you saw a little while ago. He's got his hand on his head like this, and there's a little bit of blood trickling down there. And I just remember him going like, because Will's a real nonchalant character, and he's like, "Oh shit," and I'm like, of course I just assume I've shot him in the face. I drop the gun and I run. I go screaming up the hill, and in a complete blind panic, and I'm going screaming down the road, crying, and I get home, and Mum and Dad are in the lounge room, and I have to sort of like whoosh, do this to myself to contain it all, everything I was managing, and I go, huh? And then I kind of tiptoe across the lounge room like this and walk down the hall. I must have looked like death. I must have looked like a ghost or something walking down there. They can sense, of course, there's something wrong. I crawl into bed, shaking like a leaf. My mum comes in and she's like, Danny, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, no, I'm just a bit tired, And then, Bill, she goes off to get my dad. Bill. Bill comes in, my old man, and I remember his exact words. Like, he said, Jesus wept. You look like death warmed up. What is wrong with you? And of course, once he came in and said that, the floodgates burst, and I just broke down and just crying hysterically. And that's like, I just shot Will, I shot my best friend, I shot. And Mum is just freaked. I have this vision of Mum flying down the corridor and out the front door with a dressing gown trailing behind her, running in a wild blind panic up to the Williams house to find out what had happened. And Bill's like, what do you mean you shot someone? What, you've been throwing rocks at each other down at the river again or something? No, it was a gun. It was a fucking gun. And, of course, all hell breaks loose in the Tuffy family house. It's just, pandemonium. In the middle of this pandemonium, in walks Willie, my mate, who I thought I'd shot. And he's got this bandage on his head, and it's pathetically sort of wrapped around his head as if he'd done it himself. It's half hanging off. And he comes walking in. He's chewing on a chicken leg. I can remember it to this day. And he walks into the doorway and he sees all of this kind of consternation. And he's like, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with all you people? And I'm laying in bed and I go, Will, I thought I just shot you. And he's like, nah. You didn't shoot me. But you shot Gordon Adamson. So, anyway, the next thing you know, the end of this story, it ends like this. We had to hightail it up to the Adamson family house. I thought, to face the music, because, I'd shot someone and it was their son. And he wasn't there when we got there. It's like, Jesus. Yeah, where is he? He's in hospital. All right, we're off further up the road to Kempsey Hospital in River Street. And we get in there and I find out that he had to be operated on. So it wasn't just like local anaesthetic and to dig the slug out of his arm. He had to be put under a general anaesthetic, completely out cold. The slug had gone in here and they couldn't find it. They couldn't find it. They eventually found it somewhere up under here, and they put him under general anaesthetic, and they operated, and they got the slug out. And he came, when he was coming around, we were allowed to go in and visit him, and he was sitting up in bed, grinning like an idiot. It's as if to say, I got shot, and I survived. That's the story. It's a true story. I'm going to just sing you the song. I started the first part of the song at the start of this, and I'll just finish it now. How does it go? Yeah. So, you know, we're down the riverbank. We're taking turns at shooting things, and here's where the story gets going. Well, the dog was sitting between us. Gordon lit a cigarette. I lined up a spider in the middle of a web. Dog turns round, snaps at Will, bites him on the side of the head. Gordon gets up to kick the dog. I pull the trigger then. Ah, ah, ah. Well, it all happened in a second. Gordon took off like a flash. I turned around and looked at my best friend Willie's face, all red and gash. Well, I dropped the gun and started running, leaving Will there on the track. I ran home, crawled into bed, and everything goes black. Well, Jesus wept is what my old man said when he found me laying there. My God, you look like Death Wonder. You're as white as a sheet, I swear. Well, I couldn't speak, my mouth was dry. I began to stutter then. I broke down, said, I just shot my best friend. Well, next thing you know, old Will walks in, chewing on a chicken leg, looking all kind of nonchalant, with a bandage on his head. Looks at me kind of funny. What's wrong with you, he says. I said, Will, I thought I just shot you, man. I thought you were dead. Ah, ooh. Well, the moral of this story, no one wound up dead. I had not shot my best friend Will, I'd shot Gordon Adamson instead. When Gordon moved to kick the dog, he was in my line of fire. The bullet went straight into his arm, got stuck up there inside. I can still see Gordon laying there on that hospital bed, grinning like an idiot, his arm all full of lead. And Pal the dog chained up out the back, chained up to a log. All I can think now, looking back, is how I hate that rotten dog. I hate that rotten dog. Ooh. Thanks so much for watching, you legends, and see you next time. And I'm gonna fade out with my trailer again. Thanks for coming, and the next one will be in about 2 weeks.